Better than everyone else's.
That's true.
All right. I believe we're up and running.
All right, we are. You want to do a quick check?
Certainly looks. Yeah, let's get some. Yeah, audio should be on. We should have some video on things.
Someone check TikTok to make sure it's playing.
There we go. Cool.
All right. Well, welcome to the
67.
67th 034 live chat. 69 is coming up, so that should be really funny and hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But we're only at 67 right now. This is a Q&A session, like always. Ask us anything type format. You get to ask, we get to answer. Unfortunately, it's kind of a one-way conversation, but
Well, we've had some dialogue a little bit.
there are follow-ups, so feel free. But ask us anything. Certainly 034 Motorsport products and services. Anything automotive related, anything you wanted to know. And if you have a problem with us, if you've had a bad experience, feel free to let us know, and we'll tackle that. We try to solve problems here.
Yep.
We take a no BS approach, and we don't mind controversial topics. So I probably say way too much, but that's the benefit to you guys, is you get to see more behind what makes 034 tick, and what we're working on, and what's upcoming, and things like that. So there are lots of questions from last week, so we'll tackle a few of those while any new questions come in. And let's start with, this is a quick and easy one. Any experience with ceramic coating dump pipes for heat reduction under the engine bay? Yes, you can. You can ceramic coat any exhaust components that you would like to prevent heat transfer out of that pipe or system. A good way to do it is to coat the inside and the outside. If you coat the inside, it keeps the heat out of the part. If you coat the outside, it traps all the heat inside the material, and that can be detrimental. So often coating the inside and the outside is something that's done.
Yeah, you got to be careful too what exactly you're coating. If it's like a turbine housing for a turbo, coating the inside can be rough, because some of those coatings, depending on what they are, can actually break up and go through the turbine.
Yeah, you have to make sure it's a good quality coating and it's been applied properly if it's going to be put on the inside.
Yep.
Generally not the kind of thing you want to do at home.
No.
But I do see people do that. But yeah, that's a good way to reduce radiant heat. Generally, I don't think ceramic coatings are necessary for a properly designed installation. Certainly heat shields play a key role to keep the ambient and radiant heat away from other components that are more sensitive. So you can use heat shields made from metal, and then you can use those.
And there's a lot
reflective,
more like those like aluminized heat shielding materials available these days. And
but you can make like a sheet metal structure, and then you coat that with the reflective heat tape. There's lots of things. If you have something specific, feel free to send it our way. You mentioned something specific in another Q&A that sounded like when you work on E85 tunes that you're looking to make something like an adjustable ethanol file for those long cross-country trips. That would be flex fuel.
More flex fuel take on things, and that is something we are bringing to a suite of these applications, because for that very reason you can't always get E85. So it's ideally the easiest thing would be if the car truly knew what the content was, it can adjust for it accordingly. Second to that, we can give you manual ways to input how much ethanol you've got in your fuel. There's a couple of ways we can go about that, but yes, we are looking at adding that to a number of our platforms coming up.
I feel like the launch control on B9 Stage 1 E85 is less aggressive than Stage 1 93, and my 60-foot times are worse. Will you be releasing any updates?
We actually are working on quite a bit of launch control updates.
There's a lot coming.
So I don't know, though, why it would be less aggro on E85. The launch point changes a little bit with the transmission because of the torque outputs. But we are actually playing with that, and we'll have some adjustments done on both E85 and 93.
I mean, I think it's also, I don't know how these back-to-backs were done, if it were they're in different surfaces on different days. you're certainly going to get different type of
Yeah,
launches.
the ZF transmissions are interesting in the way they launch, and that it doesn't really care what RPM you're at. It cares what the torque level from the engine is, and that is going to change depending on octane.
Yeah. Advanced launch control features for B8 SQ5 question mark.
We are working on it right now. Actually, I was just talking with Nick about it literally 30 seconds before I walked in here.
Sweet.
So, yep.
You guys want to clear the questions that have been answered? Calibrations for B9 A4. Yes, we've mentioned that we were targeting the end of this year. I don't think that's going to happen.
We've got so many other things that have been coming up, and more projects we're trying to work on. So it's really tough. We're we're getting out as much as we can. We're actually we're building another dyno room. We're trying to do everything we can to get more of these calibrations done quickly. But there's only so much time in the day, and we've got a lot of projects stacked up. Unfortunately, the B9 A4 has been fairly low on the demand radar.
Yeah, and what we've heard from some other tuners is that the B9 A4 flash tuning sales are pretty low.
Yeah.
And so our focus has really shifted to B9 3.0T and 2.9T, and a lot of the work we've been doing on.
Yeah, and we embraced the B9 A4 way early on before almost anybody else. We've done
hardware.
Some calibration work. We've done hardware work.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic platform. So
yeah,
maybe it still hasn't quite been realized yet in the aftermarket. But,
no, I mean we sell a ton of B9 A4 hardware, so that's not an issue. One last one from last week. I have long pipe headers, cat delete on my Audi S5 B8.5. Do I have to put the pre and post O2 sensors, or would the post O2 sensors be disabled if I get the 034 tune? It's going to be a track car. Mm-hmm. I have Mertop long pipe headers and don't have enough space for rear O2s.
We still require that you run the sensors that the vehicle came with.
There's got to be room. I mean, you can put them.
You can make
further
room. You
back.
can put a bung in. You can put them further back if you need to. I haven't seen any headers that haven't been able to get them in there.
There should definitely be room. I can't imagine there wouldn't.
But yeah, no, we still use those. They're still a part of the correlation testing and the fault checking on the front sensors. Sensors and whatnot are really tricky because it's almost impossible to know if something's going wrong based on one sensor. You kind of need another, something else in the pipe to know if one's failing.
Yeah.
So fortunately, in this case, there are two that you kind of lean on to know if you've got a problem on one sensor or not.
Yeah. But you can angle them. The sensor doesn't have to be square to the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind there's a lot of guides online, but generally you don't want them pointed down. They collect condensate, but
don't let water collect in them. So make sure they're level or slightly angled up. But you can angle them fore and aft to get them in if you have limited envelope of space. Okay, let's jump into some of the current questions coming in. What are the specs on your 21-inch SQ5 wheels? Color options, when will they be available? So we have on the way right now. It's a 21 by 10 ET32, and currently we will have ZTF 01s forged,
which is this
in the anthracite color. Which is the only color we currently offer. And let's see. It will be satin black. And we will be bringing in satin black. That's in the works. So you can easily run 295, 35, 21s. Currently we're running PS 4Ss on our in-house car. And they look awesome.
It's a lot of tire.
It's a lot of tire. It's still a pretty light package compared to any other 21-inch. So you don't lose the dynamic ride and handling of the car by putting a ton of weight on the wheels, tires. And those are like a month or two out?
Weeks.
Yeah.
Out? Okay.
Yeah, let's say a month or two, but they're on their way to us from the manufacturer. We don't make forged wheels here, unfortunately. Progress on Dynamic Plus springs for B9 SQ5 and expected amount of lowering.
Nick, you're really getting these questions in here.
Yeah, well, Nick, how are you doing it? Like, you're here, and is this like a VPN or something? FTP? We are working on them, but they're pretty early in the product development process. So yeah, that's all I can say right now. We have not produced any prototypes to put on a car quite yet, but they are in our engineering process. Does your B8.5 S4 TCU tune remove the auto upshift at redline when in manual mode, and can it?
It does not. No, it will still upshift. And typically when you go to flash it, it'll be listed what your upshift points are in the flashing software. So yeah, no, generally we don't force those to hold a gear and bang off the rev limiter. It will upshift.
Yeah. Do you guys offer a trade-in program for tunes, JB4 or otherwise, when going to your platform? So we do offer a trade-in program for tuning,
Yep.
but not for tuning boxes. Tuning boxes are not, they're not the same product. They're not the same class. Just because you have a tuning box doesn't mean you own a ECU remap. So if your ECU has been flashed by a competitor tune, email tuning@034motorsport.com, and we do have a trade-up program for those situations, not for the JB4. So, a tuning box, you can just sell it to anyone else. It doesn't go with an ECU.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we know with the ECU side, you're almost always locked in.
yeah. And please do not run a tuning box with our tuning.
No.
That's not how it works. I know people do that. People also vape, and, that's also not very smart. How has the TTE PureTurbo testing been going on B9 3.0T? So we have the turbos here.
Yep.
We are not at the point of testing them yet. So we are working on some updates and optimizations to the tunes that we've already released.
Right.
And we are starting to work on RS5 and 2.19, that stuff. So these big turbo tunes are coming up. But we have to kind of get to a point where we feel that we can move forward from stage 1 and stage 2, and there's still
they're sitting
still a few things we're working
in
on.
our calibrators' hands. So yeah, we're just wrapping up some of this, like Javad said, the stage 1, stage 2 tweaks, and then we'll be moving on to the bigger turbos.
Someone's asking, would you be willing to do a pre-sale on flow-formed wheels for ZTFs during Black Friday? I don't think so, because it's probably a little too far out. However, if we have great certainty on what they're costing us and when they will arrive, I would consider it. I just normally wouldn't want to do that like 2-3 months out. But it depends how far along we are. We're hoping to release them like January, February, but we'll think about it. Thanks for bringing that up. Will we offer non-crackle map options for tunes? It'd be good to know what car, what application.
What application?
If
the
you're
only
still
one we
on.
like, I mean, everything. Yeah, everything right now that we offer, aside from some of the older ME9, like the Mark 5, Mark 6 GTIs, you can turn it on and off with the dynamic, whether the engine's in dynamic or not. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, we try and offer you the selection as you would have from the OEM system as well, where it's, off in the comfort and quiet modes, and then you're allowed to turn them on if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's generally how we try and approach it and give you the option to pick.
Yeah. Will you be releasing hardware for E85 support on EA839 hybrid turbos?
We are looking at providing more and more fueling components for that vehicle. I don't think we have much more to go over right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking at fully, obviously you need fuel and, you need some supporting mods if you're going to be putting turbos on it. So we are looking to have everything you'll need to do that.
Advanced launch control question for B9 3.0T when we release it. Will it be similar or identical to B8 3.0T, ZF, or DSG? Meaning obnoxious with chance of flames. A lot of people don't think that's obnoxious. Will there be
Rolling anti-lag.
rolling anti-lag? Can you change RPM on a torque converter?
Yes, this is all stuff we are working on right now. I don't foresee any problems with it.
I mean, it's going to basically be similar to
It's
what
going
we've been offering.
Yes, yeah. So yes,
Same
there will
functioning.
be some advanced ignition strategies in there, which usually result in fireballs coming out the back, just because of the way it works. So yeah, that is very likely to be coming in the near future with the way testing is going right now.
Yeah.
So yep, that's all side effect, and that's just we're altering the ignition angle and using ignition cuts for that, so then you get a little bit of that unburnt fuel lights off again as it the next cycle comes through.
We will still offer the more traditional launch.
Always with a cat setup. Yep.
Yeah. So that won't give you
we've always approached this where it'll work on from stock cars on through the full race stuff.
Yeah. So you can choose whether you want fireballs or not. The launches are pretty similar as far as the speed.
Performance wise, yeah.
But a lot of people love the popping, and frankly, GT3 RSs do it. Race cars do it. So, it's, I guess if you're doing it at the mall, you're getting Pearl Tea on a Tuesday night, it could be obnoxious, but you can
be obnoxious in all kinds of ways.
Fuel explodes for a reason. So, future advanced launch control question for B9 3.0. Oh, that was the same one. For this ignition cut tune on B9, will you be offering a stage 2 file for vehicles with high flow cat versus catless?
We'll see how it works out. The most of the high flow cat stuff, the full metal matrix stuff, we haven't had a problem with. Most all of our testing has been with a high flow cat in place. But yeah, we'll have to determine that if we when we get there. So right now we're obviously still developing and testing.
Yeah. B9.5 3.0 T tuning ETA. This one, sorry guys, we fucked this one up.
The calibrations are good. We're still waiting on some of our flashing stuff to wrap up.
Yeah, so. We're updating our server for the newer protocols. Yep. Do we?
I'll have more ETAs later today.
Yeah. I think we're pretty good with ETAs, but sometimes some stuff comes up.
And it's just these wrenches get thrown in. This is all, obviously there's no book on this stuff. You've got to figure it out. And
that's why they're called estimated time of arrival. Or estimates or.
Along with this next one. This next one, so ETA on 2020 RS3 newer ECUs. Those are imminent. We actually just wrapped up testing last week on a 2021 DAZA TTRS, which is even a little later gen than what I've seen in the RS3 so far.
And Colette is running it now.
I believe she flashed.
She released a video.
Oh, cool.
I guess she liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So watch the video to find it.
I guess so. That's imminent. We've tested both our E85 low pressure injectors. There was a bunch of mapping stuff we had that they changed for no obvious reason other than there were some updates on their software side.
Yeah.
They added lots of new ways to turn off crackle overrun. So we worked on ways to turn that back on for you. So it's the OEM stuff's weird because they added, I'd say, a half dozen maps related to crackle overrun and then turned them all off. So it's just like all kinds of new ways to turn off the feature.
Somebody was like, no.
Some engineer some engineer there wanted it, and someone else said no.
Yeah. Is it normal for a catted downpipe to smell? So
like what?
Initially, early, there can be some smells related to
That's
the inside curing and some coatings burning off and things like that. So usually the first day or two will result in it's with exhaust systems.
Brand new OEM catalysts smell wretched.
They're bad,
for the first 30, 40 minutes of run.
The ceramic cores were worse. I remember in the 90s they would stink really bad. But long term, I mean, you shouldn't smell your exhaust, but you could die. But
stick your face there.
But it's hard to say. I would say with ours, there's no adverse smells other than the normal smells you'd expect from an exhaust, which you'll grow to appreciate and love. Do you offer any kind of tuning warranty like APR Plus? Oh, this is a good question. So we offer a comprehensive manufacturer warranty on all of our products, including our tuning. And if you're ever running our tuning and we can determine that something in our tune damaged your engine, we will be very, very available and cooperative, and we will work with you. It's happened very few times in the history of the company, but there have been times where we've stepped up and taken responsibility because we saw, with certainty that something we did caused. Again, this is very, very rare. Now, there's lots of people that accuse us of this. We will typically go to great lengths to work with them to get to the bottom of what actually happened. At the minimum, if we don't take responsibility, we'd like to tell them to the best of our ability why they had this problem so they can address it from happening again. I mean, that's the least we could do as a customer service organization. Now, I'll address APR Plus. APR Plus it's a gimmick. So what they do is they give you a dumbed down tune with less performance, and then they tack on like a $1,500 aftermarket extended warranty. So I don't know. The last time I checked, they were like $2,000 or something for it.
It's quite a bit more. I don't know if it's.
Yeah.
It probably depends on the model.
So it's like a $300 to $500 dumbed down tune with less performance, but then they slide in this aftermarket warranty. So if you'd like to have that, you could buy any of our tunes and you could go out into the world and you could add on an aftermarket warranty and you would have 034 plus. I'll tell you, you don't need it. Very, very few of our customers have ever had any kind of engine related problems. Even less have had problems related to what our tuning does. So we talk about this a lot on here. There's a lot of 3.0T B8 B8.5 3.0T type of engine problems that are the result of the age of these cars, some Achilles heel issues, intercoolers leaking. We've talked about a customer who misinstalled their high pressure fuel pump and filled their crankcase with oil, which they ended up spinning some bearings. Sorry,
your oil
filled their oil with gasoline, and the list goes on and on. Misinstalled pulleys, and there's been some cases of pistons cracking in half, but with no evidence of detonation. So, anyways, engines fail, and when you take them from 330 horsepower to 550, stuff's going to happen every once in a while. Now, these cars are overall extremely reliable.
Yeah.
I think a great example is Todd, our CFO at MP. He went and bought a B8, B8.5, and we outfitted it. It's just a 034, rolling showcase. And he's an accountant. He's a CFO. He doesn't know anything about cars. And he's just like terrorizing the freeways of Southern California in this 500 plus horsepower B8.5 S4. So he's a great example of, he just drives the car. He brings it here once or twice a year. We go over it, and it's been extremely reliable. And that's been, I was a little nervous to put our CFO into a full catalog.
It's like when you get to a point, it's it's a tuner car. You've got to know what you're doing and pay attention to the what you've done.
He literally drives it, treats it, with the same amount of care and attention as if he owned a Prius, and it just starts and runs every day. So that's a testament to like the experience that the vast majority of all our customers have. So I mean, we won't ever offer something like APR Plus because they get to say it has a warranty, but really they're just putting a bunch of money into some extended warranty company's pocket, and then you're getting a lower performance tune, which it's just, the whole thing seems silly to me. But I get why people buy it if they take the hook. They're gonna get they're gonna think that they're getting something that they're really not.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people have been able to act on that warranty either. I can't speak one or the other. It's always
Well, I also heard at one point that something happened with the extended warranty company, so they were just taking the money and putting it into a bank account, and then if anyone ever needed a new engine, they would pull. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing sounds kind of harebrained. I mean, if you blow your engine because of anything our tuning does, then we will take care of you.
Yeah, and it just comes back to also, it's such a difficult thing it's oftentimes a very difficult thing to prove one way or the other, where we've got thousands of examples that are flawless without an issue, and there's one outlier.
I mean, it's not that hard to prove, though. I mean, we're looking for things like, the evidence of detonation. So melted spark plugs, melted pistons, melted ringlands. Things like when an engine blows up or fails in any kind of way, even after all the catastrophe, it's still quite easy to go in and post-mortem.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
I don't want to make it sound like that's confusing.
You need to do that post-mortem.
Yeah.
It's been difficult to get that post-mortem done.
Doing it, you have to pull the engine out. You have to start taking it apart. You have to really get it. You have to take a look at the pistons, the rods, the bearings. You have to make sure that the oiling system was intact. You look at the oil itself. But once you analyze the evidence, the conclusions are pretty easy to come by. For someone like us with 20 plus years of experience building and tuning engines and pretty much seeing anything and everything that can happen.
Yeah.
But yes, in many cases, we attempt to work with the customer. They end up pulling their engine out. They put another one in, and the engine's gone, and they don't want to mess with it anymore.
There's a core charge or something on the motor, so they just
possibly, or they don't want to spend any more time, pulling their motor apart to look into it. So we recommend they do. We always want to know.
Yeah, we always want to know. I mean, we obviously we do everything we can to keep, we keep every safeguard possible in there.
Yeah.
And though every motor we've been able to see has had, as Javad mentioned, a very there's an underlying issue that's
nothing's ever been inconclusive. Once we saw the evidence, it's not inconclusive. So. Thoughts on having a page on your site that lists ETAs of all your upcoming products, so we can all have a place to check instead of asking
which competitors asking for this.
Tell you what,
we give out more info than anyone else on these talks here.
Why don't you create a website listing all the chicks that you'd like to go after, so that all the other chicks that you're thinking about dating can read about all the other chicks you're interested in and possibly gonna. Right. No, we're not gonna do that. I mean, we already talk so openly about our ETAs and we put it out there. And so that's the most we'll ever do, because these ETAs, they can change and there's a lot of uncertainty around them. And so the last thing we want to do is actually put it in writing and create a system around it. But we're talking about it. We're putting it out there. It's up to you if you think you can wait or believe the ETAs that we're listing. But we'll keep talking about it. But there's only so much.
It's tough because we try and do as much testing as possible too before obviously it goes to market. And if we gave solid ETAs like a year out before we've even really gotten through the production cycle and the manufacturing and the QA process, you could pretty assuredly know that we're not doing much testing. Our stuff moves around all over the place because we test a lot. We find issues both in manufacturing and in performance stuff that we want to resolve before it hits the market.
And the last thing we want is to feel rushed to get these products to market before we've done the testing. So that won't help you either, although it's tempting.
Is there an ETA on the ETA webpage?
2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be done in 2 weeks.
But yeah, we send out product.
Website coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know when we release products, that's easy. Just sign up for our email list and you'll know, or follow our social media.
People forget what the E and the ETA stands for.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of like people forget what ASAP means too.
Also, ATM machines are a really tough one.
Does the increased clamping force with the TCU update shorten the life of the DSG?
I don't even see that question. It's quite the opposite. It actually increases it. There it is. Basically, what we're doing is limiting the amount of slip that those clutches are seeing. So we're trying to proactively clamp down on that clutch before it gets into a slip condition, and then has to reactively then try and apply more and more pressure. Which, if the physics classes, you can remember that an object on a table is going to have its greatest moment of force to move it once it's if it's standing still. If it's already sliding, it's going to take more and more effort to stop it. So there's a lot to be said for providing the right amount of force, and clamping pressure before it slips.
Objects in motion tend to stay in motion.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're trying to combat that, it's much harder to do. reactively. And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of calibrations on the market kind of work. Is they don't expand those tables. They don't properly report the amount of torque coming from the ECU. So the transmission is then left to try and do everything it can kind of backwards, where it only knows what it has to do after the fact.
Yeah, and the clutch in the DSG is designed to create more clamping force. Like that's not actually bad for it.
No,
it's designed to hold and withstand these type of clamping forces.
Yeah,
what it's not designed for is slipping excessively,
right?
Excessive heat, excessive friction, things like that.
Yep.
So that's actually what hurts the transmission. A properly tuned file with the appropriate amount of clamping force to prevent slip is the most reliable.
Right.
And then, up to some point, the transmission could fail due to just exceeding its torque limits, but we haven't really seen those.
I've never seen one.
In a DQ500, it's as much as you can make, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, they have their limits, but nothing the average person's going to see on stock or stock frame.
Now, you'd have to be like, 600 foot-pounds of torque or higher.
And generally with lots of rubber and lots of traction.
Yeah, and you'll be breaking axles.
But that's even outside of tuning. That's just the mechanical limits of the transmission. If it were a reliability issue on the tuning, you'd see in this case for clamping pressures, you'd see things like seals going out or failures in other internal components of the transmission that aren't necessarily gear or actual vehicle movement related.
Yeah.
And that we haven't seen one of those yet. And we're not, it's not like we're just throwing all of the pressure possible at it. We're properly transmitting the torque that's being made from the engine to the transmission.
Mm-hmm.
We tell the transmission how to interpret that torque and what to do with it. So it's not, running 20 bar of pressure just because it can. It's running the amount of pressure it needs to hold it correctly.
4.0 T-mount ETA. They're probably like a month or two out. They are finished. They're on their way to us. I don't have the exact date. I don't know if you have any insight, Nick.
No date.
Yeah, but we're done with testing, and they're at some point in final production and delivery to us from our manufacturing partner. See, someone's asking, how would you recommend a new aftermarket creator launch a new performance product, considering the established brands are quickly replicating innovation of others? Are patents required? So this is like our future competitor is asking how to compete with us. No, I mean, basically the only way that you can do it is you have to enter the market through a small niche opening where you can offer a product or service that nobody else is offering, or you can offer it in a new way that adds value, that would make the customers in the marketplace notice you and give you their money. Patents are very tough. They're reasonably expensive to get. Utility patents are much harder to get because you actually have to prove that you have a new use case.
Yeah, in these cases where so much of the stuff on the vehicle has been, developed and revised ad nauseum for suspension components, engine components, getting a functional patent like that is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, and then you have ornamental or design patents like what INA Industries had done with their rear oil seal, which they accused us of copying, but they did have an ornamental patent. Our part happens to not resemble theirs in any way that would violate their patents. So as a result, there's been no legal action because there can't be. So they're not very useful. Where an ornamental patent could be useful is when you have a part that's in a captured space and it can only look that way. And then it's very small changes are all that's required. So, and then let's say you have a really good patent, and now you have to enforce it. So do you want to spend money suing somebody?
It's a hard battle.
And proving that they violated your patent. So,
and I mean, we've been knocked off countless times, and
you will be.
There's very little we can do.
The more successful you are, the more you'll be knocked off and copied.
But we try and provide, the best service, the best availability, the most coverage, and of course all the other
So
value adds you get with us.
You're going to have to find a way to offer a product that people want, and find the opportunity between, because the market is pretty locked up. You probably don't want to come to market with something that there's already 20 of on the market. But I see new guys pop up, and it's typically through one product, which is what I did. We offered a standalone ECU that was compatible with 5 cylinders. Nobody really had that. We made it cheap and accessible for any DIY to purchase and install. And then we created a line of products around that application that allowed customers to, either install it more easily or gain more performance and enjoyment from the package. And nobody was doing that. At the time there was APR, which wasn't doing anything for i5. I think the only i5 competitor in the US was 2 Bennett at the time. There was intended acceleration,
There's IA. There was
which was just
tap.
Yeah, intended acceleration.
There's tap.
They were just selling a Zener diode mod for Audi 5000s, and they still do, I think.
They had a chipset too. Eventually, later down
Yeah.
at the AAN with a.
Oh, there was
C4
they
S4s
did
and
they did,
stuff,
but
yeah.
it was probably just the MTM chip was just getting knocked off
was
by
that, too.
everybody. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, but we offered a product that wasn't on the market, and that's how we started. So, have fun.
It's a lot of hours and
Yeah.
sleepless nights.
Yeah, and mostly I see people trying to do, whoever asked this. They come in, they try, they fail, they move on. I mean, I see so many companies, efforts come and go, come and go.
And it's very hard to scale.
That's the hard part.
It is difficult to keep it going. You can come in, with and we're not trying to discourage everybody, but
Yeah.
it's hard. It's really difficult to scale and
You have to be able to overcome a lot of really difficult challenges, a lot of stress. And then the more successful you are, the more people hate you, which is what happened to me.
that's always fun. Yeah.
I used to be kind of I don't know. I was an influencer in the Audi 5-cylinder community before there were influencers, and I started 034 EFI, and everybody was rooting for me. And then I changed the name to 034 Motorsport, and we started growing, and we really started becoming successful. And then all of a sudden, people started hating us. It was like bizarre,
It was a weird switch to get
Yeah,
flipped.
and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're the big corporation in our
It's
industry.
like 4 of us in a garage.
Yeah. So whatever, you just move on, and we started doing B5 stuff and 1AT stuff, and they loved us for a while, and then you just keep moving forward. So now we have this great group of B9,
Yep. B8 and B9 guys.
B8, B9 customers having fun with their cars, and we still do a ton of i5 stuff,
Yep.
regardless, and 1AT stuff and 27T. So, all right. I guess the other option is you can go sell insurance with your brother-in-law, Rick, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just not as fun as tuning cars. But it's probably more lucrative and much less stressful. Can you please confirm that unplugging the exhaust valves on your B9 S4 tune does not affect anything? Like the vacuum
Nick's
lines?
SQ5 have been unplugged since the start.
I plugged it back in. There was an exhaust code.
Yeah, you'll get a code. You'll get a code for it, but as far as the performance
But not
on
a light.
that platform, it doesn't.
Never noticed.
Some OEM platforms will kind of kneecap you the DASA. If it's stock and you unplug those valves, you'll get a much lower power output.
I know in the HATTRS, I put check valves in the vacuum line, and that didn't cause any problems.
No, because it thinks it's switched on. These are actually position censored valves.
And you
kinda
can,
know
depending on which way the vacuum check valve is, you can lock them open or lock them closed.
Yeah, so it really depends on the platform. But the B9, yeah, it's
People claim that there's a big difference in responsiveness. I plugged it back in and didn't notice it.
Yeah,
I would be
don't-
surprised.
don't
I mean, a
think
lot of
I've
that's like oral. You hear the exhaust louder.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the DASs, there is a power hit when they're shut, not just ECU wise, but when they're shut.
Yeah,
you
but
do
they
lose
pretty
a
much
bit.
open though when you go. to
Yeah, I'm saying if
apply
the valves are unplugged.
Oh, if they're unplugged,
if they're
yeah,
unplugged
yeah.
and they're shut. Well,
Sure.
even if they're coded off, or if you run it in non-sport mode, everything quiet, you will take a power hit on spool up until they open up.
All right. Someone says, I don't know about this, but they say there's been a string of failures for the GESI High-Flow cats on B8, B8.5, and now B9 3.0T as of this morning.
That makes me think there's one that's failed.
Yeah. Do you agree that moving the cats under the car is the best solution for this issue? No, I don't agree with that.
The B8, I mean, the B8's been tough to keep
Yeah.
cats just because the temperature's there. The B9, we've seen much less of that.
We've sold quite a few of our B8 3.0T high-flow cats. Sorry, B9. No issues or failures that I'm aware of. The problem is if you move the cat under the car, then you greatly reduce its effectiveness because the catalytic converter relies on exhaust heat to get up to temperature so that it can start catalyzing. And if the further and further you move it back, the less and less up to temp it will get. And there could be times when you start the car and drive that the cats never heat up. So, I mean, you've noticed, everyone should have noticed in the last 30 years that cats have moved closer and closer to the engine. Now they're literally bolted to the turbo. You know, they're as close as they can get post-turbo. I think I've even seen some cats pre-turbo, which seems bad from a performance standpoint. So, yeah, the problem is catalytic converters can fail because of tuning problems and issues as well. And then the B8s in general are just grueling on all catalytic converters.
Yeah, the OEM ones fail left and right.
Yeah. But I mean, did it fail after 50,000 miles or, we need to know more information, but I would.
2,000 miles.
Yeah, so I was in context. There's only one case.
One reported case.
And GESI weighed in, stated that the manufacturer of the downpipe didn't use a large enough core for the heat that is being seen in that application. So basically, they were saying they should have used the 6-inch one, or they used the 5-inch one for that specific car, and that's why it failed because it just reached its maximum temperature.
Yeah, so it sounds like there was some issues on. It's not necessarily, and this is tough. GESI's in a tough spot there because they just sell these bricks, and then it's up to the aftermarket implementers to.
Well, what's going to happen now is they're going to probably start getting more stringent with who can use it, and they'll like we see this with some other manufacturers where like there's fuel pumps now where the manufacturer won't just sell them to anybody, and you have to submit engineering drawings and get them approved before they will release their product for use in another company's product.
Because if their products get used incorrectly or in an application that shouldn't be
then it makes them look bad.
Put in right. People think there's something wrong with that pump versus
generally. I think GESI cats are good quality.
Yeah.
I just think they're overpriced, and for us to use them in our products would just add unnecessary cost. We can design and engineer our own high flow cats that are just as high quality. Making a high quality catalytic converter of certain specification is not that difficult if you're working with the right vendor or manufacturer. So it's just crazy though. There's all these high flow cats on the market, and some of them don't list any specifications.
No,
and you have no idea what you're getting. All the it says there's a cat in there. And the really cheap ones, you can see they list less and less specifications because God knows what they're putting in there. Can you tune in benefits from a killer chiller system on a 3.0T B8.5 S5?
I mean, they're kind of already tuned in. If it's dropping air temps, you're gonna get whatever benefit comes along with it. There's not a lot else to really tune in.
The ECU will adjust.
Yeah, the ECU will compensate. You'll see, more timing.
Yeah, if anyone tries to sell you a killer chiller file, you're probably getting ripped off.
Yeah.
ETA and surge shank for RS3 TTRS. I know it's finished. It's in what we call handoff, so it's being manufactured. It's probably going to be a couple more months before we release it. That's a product with high priority, so we're pushing it as hard as we can.
It's not an easy product. That's to try and make that a plug-in ready.
Well, it hasn't been easy, but we're now done making. We're done with the design process, which took a long time. So now it's just getting all the parts manufactured, or making all the parts, as it may be. ETA and CARB certification for stage 1. Will there be crackles on stage 1 CARB?
No, there will not be. They won't be added.
If
it's their stock, the applications that we're doing, it will, it's not going to be removed. But no, we generally won't be turning that on. Typically on stage 1.
But we do have our executive order.
Yes, yeah. So that's to follow up on the rest of that question. We do have our executive order for stage 1, 2 liter and 3 liter. We are in the process of getting. There are some documentation requirements that come along with those, and some of all things stickers you have to have with that as well. So we're going to be finalizing those and getting those manufactured so that we can now push these out. But we couldn't do that until we had the numbers. So, they'll be available soon, and we're going to have a process on how to obtain those and what you're going to need to do to get those EO numbers.
Yeah, and anyone who's bought our B8 tuning will have access, and our MQB.
MQB, yep. If you've got any of those files, we will have a CARB file for those platforms.
Do 3.0 TFSI tunes you sell take into account countries that are below sea level? I've heard some people have trouble with overboost. Yes.
I mean, as much as we can, we use the barometric sensor for everything we're working on.
I mean, I don't know how far below sea level you can get.
Right.
Even Death Valley's not that far below sea level. Most places below sea level are below the sea. So, there's a problem. It's the effect of being below sea level is much less than the effect of being above sea level.
Right.
Like you could be 12,000 feet.
Yeah, we're talking hundreds of feet.
The barometric difference is going to be much bigger. So,
and I mean, we're testing everything here at like 11 feet. So
yeah,
it's like you couldn't get closer to sea level.
We are at the ocean level most of the time. You don't have anything to worry about, and the factory ECU is still utilizing the barometric sensor and all its models that take into account elevation. So you have nothing to worry about on our tune.
This one keeps coming up.
Can you modify dynamic mode to keep flaps open all the time on B9? Yeah, it does seem like people are always asking about flaps. It's like the new crackles.
Just closes in reverse. Sometimes we'll close at idle if it wants to. Other times it'll stay open.
Something we can keep looking.
We can talk about that, about rolling that into the next update. No reason we can't. I'm gonna look. There's probably some reasons if it has to go into like a catalyst heating. Chances are good it's going to close them for that, which it'll do if it sits at idle for a while. Which is likely why they're shutting. So we'll have to look at it.
For 3.0T B9, can you clarify the stage 2 compatibility with high-flow cat downpipes? Can you clarify if your software is safe with high-flow cats, specifically 400 cell? Yeah, we recommend high-flow cats.
Right. Yeah.
For stage 2 racing use, we recommend high-flow cats and not test pipes.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for us to blanket. Say it's going to work with every cat. To this other example, this manufacturer is using a smaller element than what we maybe would recommend. Where 400 cell doesn't mean much if you don't know the diameter of the brick and how
and also the thickness.
The brick is.
Yeah, the thickness of the length.
So there's a lot that goes into that. So
it's compatible with our high flow cat.
Yeah,
we suspect it would be compatible with any other properly designed high flow
well engineered setup. Yeah.
But our goal is never to force anyone into a test pipe, because what we see is performance that's just as good as test pipes, but with the more pleasant and the more environmentally friendly high flow cat installed.
Yep.
And you might not be a tree hugger or whatever, but we all have to breathe this air, and
there's really no reason.
If you can make just as much power and get rid of some of the extra unburnt fuel and hydrocarbons, and can't do anything about the carbon dioxide, but at least the smog stuff is better. And then you notice it too when you're driving. So I don't have any desire to do test pipes on anything.
What's the difference between test pipes and high flow cats or catless? Well, I mean, test pipes are basically what is like an industry term for catless downpipe. They were literally,
they used to be for testing.
When catalysts were new, they would fail a lot. And one of the things you had to do to help diagnose that, because this was pre-OBD anything, pre-computer anything, is you take the catalyst out, you put a test pipe. Literally a test pipe,
like J.C. Whitney,
to see if that's the car all of a sudden is working better with
and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it actually accelerates out of its own way, and then you it needs a new cat, because there was no there was also like you could put a pressure port pre-cat and then measure the pressure
ports and silicon caps on them. So there was.
You've probably seen those from 80s cars from the 80s, like Audi 4000s and everything had them.
Yep.
Audi 5000s. But yeah, no, I mean, at some point a test pipe will flow more, but a properly designed high flow cat can be made to flow any CFM you want.
Yes, and especially with the vast majority of what we're working with, where it's stock turbo or stock frame turbo size, you know, platforms, we're not really seeing any restriction on the catalysts.
And on all of our stage 2 tuning, we would say that our high flow cats flow as good as test pipes for those applications, our stage 2 applications. Okay, we got 10 minutes. On the B8.5 platform, what exactly do the different drive modes do on the factory drive select system?
Yeah, so that's going to depend on what options your car has and what transmission it has. So, you know, for example, on, you know, my B8, where I've got a sport diff and a DSG, it's going to change the shift mode and the way the transmission or the differential behaves, in addition to change throttle mapping from the factory. So it basically removes half of your accelerator pedal worth of resolution, where half throttle is full throttle.
In stock.
In stock, yeah. So we adjust that. So there's honestly, on the ECU side, there's very little difference between sport and comfort mode, if any. But you still will have the different shift programs from the transmission and the rear differential behavior. And if you've got a dynamic steering, you'll get different feedback on the steering wheel. So it depends on the car and what your options are on it. Ideally, it's supposed to make it all, you know, sportier and more sporty sport feeling, which can be detrimental again on the ECU side, where they literally remove half of your pedal.
You lose throttle resolution. Yeah. Any plan to offer a separated enhanced crackle versus stock?
Okay, so the question is, are we going to offer a
Multiple.
enhanced crackle versus a stock crackle?
Multiple
and offer
crackles.
multiple levels of this with B9. I think what we're going to do is work more on getting a better, you know, a really solid, you know, middle ground, where it's probably not going to be.
So there's everybody's on.
It's not going to be cannon fire, but it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be any more muted than stock either. I think that's where we're going to try and end up.
We are still taking feedback, and there's lots of opinions on both sides, like from here to here and everything in between.
We want guys that, you know, that are requesting fireballs out the back of the car every time they get off the gas.
Yeah, women haven't been asking for that.
Well, I mean, I prefer to push for a, you know, the best solution that covers the most people. Generally, from just literally a logistics standpoint of maintaining and supporting these for you guys, is, you know, the second you offer all of these customizations or tweaks, you're now doubling your file load across all of the platforms, because we don't want to offer it just for like one ECU here and there, because then all of a sudden the next guy comes along with a different, you know, different software on his car and needs or wants or expects the same options as his friend has. So then we've got to jump back and do it again, or we have to sit there and it's going to take twice as long for every update that comes down the road now. So it's just more things to support, maintain, and keep track.
This is generally why you see tuning companies, you know, having a limited offering of file types, because each file requires a tremendous amount of support to maintain it. If you change something about the tune, then you now have to update multiple files instead of just one.
Yeah. And
it's a lot more work.
Yeah, we generally already offer way more than anyone else for all of these platforms that we support. So, you know, when you buy a file from us, you get 91, 93, 85, depending on the car, or sometimes 104, 100 octane. You get multiple levels of shift points and launch control. So more and more of that is coming for the B9. You know, we just have to very carefully pick what options are going to be their own discrete files.
And this is the same reason restaurants have like menus with dishes on them. You just don't show up and ask for anything, because they have to support these dishes. They have to order the ingredients. They have to have everything there. They have to be able to prepare it. They have to train people to make it. And so you're kind of fixed when you go into a restaurant. There's anywhere from 10 to 30 different things you can order. And that's, you know, kind of how it is. And even some restaurants won't even allow customizations. So if customizations took us 8 seconds to do, then we'd do them, like McDonald's would if you asked for no tomatoes. But these customizations can take hours and hours or days.
Yeah, and it's tough because like I mentioned earlier, every time we do this, one off, it's not that the one tweak takes that long. It's that then they let everybody know that they got this tweak, and then we have to do it for all of the software that is on that that particular platform, which is then days of work typically to get everything up to date at the same level and
Yeah.
on the server ready for you all to flash.
All right, real quick, I got some of these new beer glasses that we just added to our merch line. So this is, I believe, called a tulip.
That's no name.
No, this is
That's
the tulip beer glass. It's tulip shaped, like a tulip flower. I should have known that. And it holds beer that you can drink, and then you'll get drunk if you drink too many. So be careful. But it's a delicious way to drink beer. And then this is the Nonic. Nonic. I don't know what that stands for.
It means no nip. So when it tips over, it doesn't.
This?
That's what that means.
Supposedly that's what it means.
But it's NIC, right?
That's,
I don't know. I thought I Googled it and it meant something. But
Creators have been
I think the nice thing about it is, there's some positive engagement for your fingers. So if you're 4 or 5 in and you're just like, and there's some condensation, your fingers can grab before it slides out and hits the floor and you embarrass yourself even more. So anyways, these are available in stock, ready to drink from. And also, I'm drinking from our high capacity coffee mug. So there's that too.
It is basically a tractive element, so that if you're doing shakers or whatever, it doesn't slip out of your hands as easily. Was one of the primary
For what?
developments for the no-nick.
Track?
It's called like grip.
Yeah. Okay. So it's what I was talking about, the extra grip. Yeah. Someone says, always enjoy your content. Is there currently a way or in the future to quickly derate my ECU tune for another driver? Think wife, adult, kid, etc. I mean, yes, you can flash back to stock. We have stock files available, and that's probably the best. I mean, people used to really get into valet modes and stuff like that, but we never really have messed with that. And valet mode just completely neuters the car.
Yeah.
But you can go back to stock, which I don't know, if you can't trust whoever you're giving the car with stock, then maybe you want to reconsider.
Yep.
Now, if you have a lot of hardware, what do we do for like?
It depends. Usually, we'll have a stock, like a stock with injectors or something. If you've got big injectors,
so you can still bring it down to stock level performance, even though it's not stock. Two more minutes.
B9 crackles, please make it louder than stock. See, just as many people saying I like the stock ones or less.
For customers in countries without readily available E85, UK, Europe, do you have methanol injection supported software for stage 2 for the 3.0T B8 and B9?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's a tough one to really like support and rely on. We do have some methanol injection files up, but we try not to recommend that route very often because the methanol system is completely outside of the ECU's control.
It is, yeah.
We have no way to monitor or meter or proactively handle any of the methanol injection. That's all done basically. Am I into crazy fuel trims and are my air temps really wonky now? Then that's probably working. And that's kind of all we have to tune from on the ECU side. So yeah, it's tough. That one's we generally don't recommend running water meth files unless you really know what you're doing. You're right on top of things.
We want to do higher octane files,
Yeah,
that's
the base octane is what we always will push.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we're pretty much at the end of things now. We have a minute left for some last one.
Yeah, someone's asking CARB legal sticker. That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, so that's now that we've got our EO, our EOs, we now have a process we're working on.
Can we? Someone got a 30-day impound. Can we just give them the number?
30-day impound.
I don't know. Maybe they should. Shoot us an email to tuning at.
Yeah, it's
and see if we can help out. Figure out what's going on there. But just shoot us an email. On that one. So, all right, looks like we're out of time for this week. We got through a lot of questions though, so this is good. And we'll save some of these for next week. If if you can, obviously tune in, and we always try to get to all the questions. So have a great week. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, cheers.